First, as a fellow Star Wars fanatic, how on earth did you stay calm interviewing Mark Hamill?
The hardest thing for me was getting the guts to ask about Star Wars because, he wasn't there, and this is this is normal. Like, he wasn't there to talk about Star Wars. He was there to talk about an indie film that he did with, I don't even remember. Was it Adrian Brody? No. It was somebody less famous than that. Anyway, he was there with two other people. Can't even remember the name of the movie. He was there promoting that. And he's very old. He looks old in person. He's just a really nice guy, though. So we were 20 minutes into it, and I had to get the guts to ask him about Star Wars. So that was the hardest thing because I knew that he wasn't there to talk about it, and I was like, is he going to get a little pissed, because people always ask him about Star Wars?
You worked at New York Magazine and Business Insider. What are some of the takeaways from that experience?
So when I was first at Business Insider, I was one of the first 100 employees-ish, right? So then eventually, 2 years later, they got bought for $500 million almost. I was 468 or something. It was crazy because when I first started there, it was pretty small. There was 100 of us in a smaller office. And I was one of the first video producers there. So I was making video content, which for me, I was animating stuff in After Effects and writing. I'm a good writer. I'm really good at story ideas and headlines. And I didn't want to be out in the field. So I taught myself how to animate, and I made videos about that stuff. But then I was just I'm always way too ambitious for my own good. And I'm really good at frickin' knowing what people will click on. It's my gift. So they moved me to the news division. So I was a news editor managing all the content that the whole place was. And it was just crazy because it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was 300 people a year later. And it was and so I was literally managing, rewriting and writing 200 headlines a day. Business Insider was early on the map for being one of these they write amazing clickbaity headlines. I hate that word, clickbait.
With your book Producing Empathy, you obviously talk about empathy, but how did you come to that? Was that an extension of those experiences that you just mentioned, or how did you come up with the idea that empathy is the kingpin?
So my whole thing is I got really good at figuring out what would go viral. Right? I got really good at knowing what people would click on. I was behind videos that did, hundreds of millions of views. And I was trying to, I think when I started writing the book, I started thinking about why something would go viral. And empathy kept coming back as the concept. I think that in general, the reason why anybody clicks on anything online is because they see themselves in it in some way. That's, so whether it's value that they're going to receive, right? The 5 foolproof ways to organize your desk so to reduce your stress every single day. A headline like that I just made up, I don't know, it's not a real article, but that is empathy because in general, it's sort of saying, hey, I see you. I see how stressed out you're feeling about your desk. Let me give you some valuable content to fix that problem. Cool? All right, cool. We'll be friends now. I'm going to guide you, right? That's empathy that gets people in there.
Leading that into YouTube and starting a channel, it's depressing to be empathetic, and I know the feeling. I've been doing SEO a long time, but I've had plenty of my own projects are oh shit, I'm on YouTube or I'm starting a new blog, and it's tiring when it takes time to work. What are some tips for people to get their YouTube channels going and use empathy?
This is just in general in business, whether you're creating content or whether you're selling something. The more you make it about you, the more you're going to lose. So you need to make it about them. So the best way to be empathetic is just what are the, for example, I teach a college class in PR. I've been teaching it for years. And we had our test today on content. I do the class in 3/3, and this middle third was all about content creation. And the process that I take them through to create content is, and this is a great strategy for anybody starting a blog or a YouTube channel, is this is in the book, so you might recognize it, John. Essentially, like, I have them do what I call a persona exercise, which is like a psychological profile sort of like the ideal target customer or the ideal target audience member, including their needs and wants and pain points, but not just with relationship to your product if you have a company, but like in general. And then do a lifestyle map that basically puts out the 5 core pieces of their life, right? Like wife, mother, whatever. And then ask yourself or research what are 50 if you really want to go for it. But like, what are the things that people would Google about those 5 core lifestyle traits, and then turn those into headlines. And then there's your content, right? So essentially, like, what would your target customer search for, and then make content about that is essentially what it is. But I teach it like a process so that you go through the persona exercise so you understand that person emotionally. The emotional stuff leads into the lifestyle map, and then you can turn it into headlines based on what people search.
And how did you work out script templates, or talk about creating a good YouTube script?
All these algorithms are different. Like, YouTube is big on retention. So is TikTok. Like, they want you to watch the video all the way through. On TikTok, they want you to loop it. So you have to get people to the end. So if you ever like see a big YouTuber, you'll see that they always save the best for last and stuff like that. But yeah, you have to have a hook right at the beginning. It's a really good thing. Like we used to do this in like all these. There's nothing new under the sun, right? Like in TV news, because I worked in TV news for a couple of years, like producing TV news in Las Vegas. We used to call it a deep tease. Like at the beginning of the show, like the end of the A block, like 5 minutes in, we would do a tease to something that was in the D block, because we wanted people to be like, to watch the whole show and just stick around, because that was really good for ratings. The best way to end a YouTube video is to not end it. Like don't, I used to teach public speaking. I have a weird background, don't I? I used to teach public speaking in college, and there's this concept in the public speaking textbooks called, I think it's called brake lighting. Essentially, like when you're driving a car and the car in front of you see its brake lights, it's a signal to you to slow down as well. So you don't want to do this in public speaking actually, in public speaking, it was something you were supposed to do towards the end of your talk. But essentially, like, you're giving a signal to the people watching that it's ending soon. You don't want to do that in YouTube, because people just bounce. You want them to binge watch your content. So don't end the video. Like, essentially, the best thing that you can do, actually, the best thing you can possibly do is be like, and number 5 is blah 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 blah. This video goes even deeper on number 5. Watch that now. Like, no ending to the video. Like, it's just like this endless replay.